All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10 a.m. We will get started with the April 9th, 2025 License and Variance Board meeting. I'm Richard Garland, the Community Services Administrator for the City of Smyrna, and to my left is Bo Jones. He's the Director of Water and Utilities, and to his left is Andrea Worthy, who is our Economic Development Director, and we make up the License and Variance Board that will be hearing your request this morning. And unless there's anything else, we will get started with formal business. Item A, which is a license agent change request. Is DeMar Cottrell present? Thank you, sir. This is a license agent change request, beer and wine retail package and Sunday sales for 2390 South Cobb Drive, Southeast Smyrna, Georgia, 30082 for the Walgreen Company with DeMar Cottrell as agent. Mr. Cottrell, if we could have you step to the microphone, please, sir.
Good morning.
If you would state your name for the record, so that.
DeMar Cottrell.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You are going to be the privileged license agent for Walgreen.
Correct.
Okay. Have you had previous experience doing this for Walgreen or anybody else?
Yes.
Okay. Would you explain that to us, please?
Yeah, sure. So just being a store manager for approximately 7 years with the company, I know the policies and procedures around the alcohol containment and also how to train my employees.
Okay. Would you explain that training process?
Yes. So that consists of asking every single customer who comes into the building for identification that goes along with the Walgreens policy. Also making sure that we're not selling to underage individuals.
Can you, what is the POS system that Walgreens has in place, or what system do you guys use to ensure that you're not doing that?
Yeah, so we have a POS system in place to tell us exactly when we sell alcohol. Identification is required. We have to record the date of birth in the system and ask for valid identification.
What is the frequency of training that employees at Walgreens receives, or the Walgreens that you've been a part of? What's the frequency of the training for those employees?
This is a daily thing, especially for new hires and current employees that we have. We have onboarding guides, also training guides, modules that come down not once a month and also quarterly.
What's the repercussions if an employee, if you guys discover that an employee has sold alcohol to someone without following the procedures that you've outlined?
First of all, it's a fine for Walgreens, and then also there's termination involved with the employee.
Okay. Questions from the board? It appears that you have completed your background check and there aren't any issues with that. The last thing that I would remind you is that the Smyrna Police Department does take the alcohol policies of the city, ordinances of the state, laws of the country seriously, and they do perform routine sting operations. And typically, when we have agent changes, it's one of those things that kind of notifies them that something's coming. So just want you to be aware of that and know that that's a possibility. Do you have any questions for the board?
Not at this moment.
Okay. If there aren't any further questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I motion to approve license 2025-021, a privileged license agent change request for beer and wine retail package and Sunday sales at 2390 South Cobb Drive, Smyrna, Georgia, 30082, Walgreen Company with DeMar Cottrell as the agent.
Second motion.
You have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes unanimously. I can see it on your screen. I can't see it on mine, but okay, awesome. Next item on the agenda is another license agent change request. Is David John Owansky here? Odescu. Okay. I was so close. If we were playing horseshoes, I'd be in. This is a privileged license agent change, beer and wine package and Sunday sales at 1000 South Pioneer Drive, Southeast Smyrna, Georgia 30082, GB License LLC, doing business as GoPuff, and David John as agent. All right. If you guys could, well, there you go. If you would state your name for the record.
David Onescu.
And I'm Amanda Torres. I'm here with Start and Left Attorneys as attorneys for applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, we're going to go through the same drill that we just went through. What experience do you have being a privileged license agent, either with this company or previous companies?
As far as being an approved agent, I have not, but in terms of, from a career standpoint, I have worked with, through marketing services, dealing with as the agency of record for BevMo, as well as representing multiple distributors across the United States and grocery stores. So with that, I was responsible on the merchandising side as well as consumer interaction with sampling. So on the sampling side, we looked at training an in-house team that would go into the grocery stores and even into the BevMo liquor stores and conduct those samplings of alcohol and various mixed drinks with consumers. So along with the training, came the responsibility side of making sure that, we're looking at IDs, making sure we're not, serving to intoxicated people, making sure that we're aware of sample sizes, number of samples, on the mixed drink side, making sure that we're, having the right mixtures of alcohol to mixers in the drinks to make sure that we always stay within the confines of what the laws were for each municipality that we were in, because it did differ sometimes from one municipality to the other within the same state.
And what training have you received?
The training I've received, I just recently went through the RAS training here for Cobb County, and prior to that, did spend time with each of the distributors. Never did get the ETIPS training because I was not required to by my business, but did go through the steps of it to better understand how it was that we can convey, the importance of what needed to be done to our employees that were out in the field.
And can you explain the training that is taught to the employees of GoPuff?
On the GoPuff side, yes, they are actually responsible to go through the Department of Revenue certification and training to make sure that they understand the laws and regulations that they're up against. From an internal business standpoint, the drivers that we do have are actually contract drivers to us, but still report into us. So we're responsible for making sure that they follow the rules, closely. Did ask the question earlier about, the repercussions that come up with that. On our app, the repercussions for them is either two things. Either number one, they can't drive for us anymore, period, or number two, they cannot no longer deliver age-restricted items. And so when we look at it on our screen, it literally will show you a cigarette or a little martini glass if we know it's those items, and if it's the driver on their end, it actually shows that they are not allowed to and are not certified by us to transport those items.
Okay. Because of the nature of what you're talking about, I'm going to ask you to explain kind of the business model for GoPuff, because I'm hearing deliveries and is it in-store and delivery, or it's all delivery?
100% delivery,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
it's app-driven. You go on, you order the stuff through the app at the location that we have at 1000 South Pioneer. It's essentially convenience store delivery. So we're essentially running a mini public store of sorts that a customer never comes into. Their items that they purchase are strictly through the app. They order the item, we bag it, we seal the bags, drivers come in and get them, and then deliver them to the customers.
In that scenario, is it the driver's responsibility or the packer's responsibility to ensure that an item requested, an age-restricted item that's requested, that the individual requesting it is of the proper age?
It's really more so the driver side. However, like on the app side, when you're setting up the app, it will set you up, for your age, right? So if you are under 21, it won't even allow you the opportunity to order those items. However, when the driver does take the items to the customer, the label on the outside of the bag clearly shows that there is age-restricted items in it. That's the reason we want to make sure we seal the bags, no theft occurs, and we know if there's been anything's been tampered with. When the driver gets to the customer's home, they have to input into their delivery app the driver's name and age, and then also scan their driver's license. With that in mind, you're also making sure that they're matching, the person on the license to the person that they're handing the items to. If it's not the right person, it comes back to us. We got a return shelf. You know, they go through the process in the app of making the return, and then we go from there and put it back on the shelf. So they're ultimately responsible on that end, and that's why we lead to that, you know, kind of harsh consequences if that isn't being followed and not allowing them to drive with us anymore.
So the driver's not just dropping a bag. They've got to hand it to someone.
Age-restricted items, they have to. Yeah,
Okay,
because quite
okay.
honestly, they cannot close out to get paid unless they actually go through that process all the way. If it's a Snickers bar, yes, they can
Yeah,
leave it on
yeah.
the doorstep. But age-restricted, they've got to complete the process to even get paid.
Okay. How are you ensuring that the person who's driving and the person that they're handing the goods to is of age? They've got to scan a driver's license, is that what okay.
Correct.
So the driver has to scan the driver's license of the person they're handing okay. And that goes
ensuring
into
that
the
it isn't
system.
the same person too,
Right,
because
right.
oftentimes what happens is, because it's app-driven, you know, you'll have somebody else's name, they'll order it through the app. It's got to be, the name's got to match the order and the person that's picking up the items.
Okay. I think I got you. All right. So you're training staff constantly because you have drivers from,
It's a revolving door and it's nonstop.
okay, okay. All right. I don't know that they're going to have to worry about it.
That was my question.
They'll have to figure that out.
I do have one
Okay.
question.
Ask your question, sir.
When the person actually goes on the app and purchase their age-restricted item, do they have to upload their actual ID at that moment so the driver can, thus, when they come to the door, verify that the person on the app is the person at the door that's receiving the items?
They actually do not have that capability of it, and I think
Okay.
it probably leads more so to the fact of making sure that we actually have the physical ID in our hand to ensure that it's a valid ID versus something that somebody just took a picture of or possibly manipulated prior to just to get through that process on the app. That's why the end process of it is the most important.
Okay. This is the first I've heard of this. I'm just asking some questions.
Wants to know
I'm
if
gonna ask
they
my
deliver
kids
to
when I
LA
get
County.
home.
It all depends on where you live, because the delivery zones are fairly restrictive where we're at, because we're not delivering a far way out. And in fact, like even in the Smyrna area, you know, the license is only for city limits Smyrna. So even to go outside of that, those items, it may be on the app, but it does not allow them to put it in their cart to even purchase.
Is this the only location that GoPuff has, or is anybody else doing this nationwide? or-
Across the United States, there's nearly 600 in the Atlanta metro area. There's Smyrna, as well as 4 others in metro Atlanta inside the perimeter, as well as Athens.
Any idea?
Just beer and wine,
Was my only question. So
along with other convenience store items, yeah. Okay, all right. Any other questions? Okay. I did, I see here where you did pass the Training Institute for Responsible Vendors and your background check. Aren't any issues with your background check, so I think from that standpoint, everything is in place. Unless you have any questions?
No, sir, thank you.
No, sir.
Awesome. We'll entertain a motion.
motion to approve privilege license agent change request, beer, wine, and package and Sunday sales located at 1000 South Pioneer Drive, Southeast Smyrna, Georgia, 30082. GB license LLC, doing business as GoPuff, with David John Honescu as agent.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is variance request V25-035, allow new construction on lot of record below minimum requirements on land lot 486 at 1191 Medlin Street. Harold Shoemaker is the applicant. Can we have the background, please?
Good morning, Joey Stobbs, Planner 2 with Community Development. This is variance request V25-035 for 1191 Medlin Street. Applicant is Harold Shoemaker. Applicant is requesting to build a new home on the lot of record below the minimum requirements. This property was platted in 1925, well before our zoning ordinance was adopted. Subject property is .33 acres in the R15 zoning district. Therefore, it is below the minimum lot size. Section 1208 requires a variance to build on a substandard lot of record. No other variances are requested to build the home on the property. Community Development has reviewed the application and recommends approval with one condition, that approval of the request is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Mr. Shoemaker, if you would step to the microphone, please, sir. You would state your name for the record.
Yes, Harold Shoemaker.
You heard Mr. Staub give the background on this particular request. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I did. No, I think he covered it pretty well. I purchased this property a little over a year ago. There's two properties I actually purchased, 1181 and 1191. 1181 will be in front of you guys at the next one, variance meeting. But originally, we weren't sure what we were going to do with the properties, whether we were going to renovate as is and so forth. And just based on the need and for new construction in the Smyrna area, we've decided that we wanted to build new construction on the properties. Both of them will be approximately 4,200 square feet finished, combination of brick, board and batten, hardy siding, higher end finishes, expected price points in the $1.35 to $1.4 million range. We anticipate, we've already been in for permitting. We've had our first round of comments on 1191 and resubmitted back on, I guess, Friday of this week. So hopefully in the next couple of days, we'll hear responses back. The adjacent property, 1191 or 1181, is in for permitting as of yesterday.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant? Okay. You understand the one stipulation that's been placed on this?
I do.
Okay. Agree to comply with that?
I do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve V 25-035, a variance request to allow new construction on a lot of record below minimum requirements in land lot 486 at 1191 Medlin Street. Harold Shoemaker, the applicant.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is variance request V 25-036, reduce the northern side setback on land lot 263 at 4107 Antler Trail. Jessica and Howard Kalin are the applicants, and at the request of the applicants, we would entertain a motion to table this to the April 23rd License and Variance Board meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes to table to the April 23rd. The next item on the agenda is variance request V 25-037 to allow a secondary accessory structure on land lot 263 at 4107 Antler Trail. Jessica and Howard Kalin are the applicants, and again, this is being requested to be tabled to the April 23rd License and Variance Board meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to table. Please vote. Motion passes, and that'll be moved to the April 23rd meeting as well. Next item on the agenda is variance request V 25-038 to increase the maximum impervious surface from 35% to 43.8% on land lot 561 at 2611 Gilbert Street. Joel Powell is the applicant. Mr. Staub, the background on this request, please, sir.
This is variance request V25-038 for 2611 Gilbert Street. Applicant is Joel Powell. Applicant is requesting to allow an increase in the maximum impervious surface area from 35% to 43.8%. The subject parcel is a third of an acre in the R15 zoning district. The applicant is proposing to build an in-ground swimming pool in the rear yard. After the addition of the pool and the accompanying deck, the impervious surface area will increase by 8.8% to 43.8%. The applicant is proposing to install a 166 square foot infiltration swale in the rear yard for mitigation. The engineering department has reviewed the proposed mitigation and is supportive. Community development believes requested variance is the minimum variance needed to build an outdoor amenity, and we recommend approval with 3 conditions. 1, approval of the requested variance is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the mitigation plan submitted with the variance application. 2, a stormwater inspection and the maintenance agreement shall be completed and recorded with Cobb County Superior Court prior to issuance of the pool permit. And 3, a stormwater as-built certification statement shall be submitted to community development for approval prior to issuance of the certificate of completion. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Staub? Thank you, sir. Mr. Powell, could you step to the microphone, please, sir? If you would state your name for the record.
Good morning, Joel Powell.
You heard the background that Mr. Staub provided. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
We're just trying to build a pool for our clients that live on at 2611 Gilbert Street. Understand that the impervious surface calculation is at 43%. We've agreed to build the water detention device on site, and we agree with the 3 stipulations placed on this by staff.
Any questions for Mr. Powell? All right. Thanks, sir.
Yes.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this request, please do so at this time. If you would state your name for the record,
Donna Moore.
and you have 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay. My name is Donna Moore. I live at 1362 Marston Street. My property runs, the back of my yard runs against this property in question. I have serious concerns about flooding. I have had with previous construction on Marston Street, flooding affect my house to the point where I've had to have my yard regraded and have stuff brought in to completely redo my front yard. This pool will be right next to my fence line where I have a lot of trees, very many old oak trees. This is a very small area, and if the pool were to clog or anything go wrong with it, it would most definitely run into my property and flood my property. The construction of the pool will cut into the roots of many of my trees, and I know there's nothing to be done about that. But I have a lot of concerns about this. This is a lot of, and that area is already flooding from previous construction. I've owned my house since 1991. It's my home. It's not an investment property. I intend to have it for the rest of my life. And I'm very, very concerned about this.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, over the last several years or anything like that you've lived at this property, what flooding issues have you noticed, and have you contacted Public Works and Engineering Department?
Would you mind if I grab my water?
No, go ahead. I had to have some myself.
If you go down Marston Street, on the north side of the street, you will see that most of the driveways go down. You're going into a small little ditch. So when the property at 1355 was redone, they elevated that property. And that runoff goes directly into my front yard. So I did call the city, who said that shouldn't be happening per the planning. And it took me a while to figure out why my yard was flooding. I'm not real bright sometimes. And the city did come out and they said it was because of the lip of my driveway was not sufficient. By that time, water had been sitting for a very long time, and indeed, it had started to bow some. My whole yard had started to sink.
Did this include the rear yard as well? Or just
I'm
this include the rear yard as well, or
It
just the
did
front
not.
yard?
It did not.
Okay.
But I had to pay for all the costs to get it redone. So my question, I guess, too, is if it floods, when my tree falls, if something happens, is the city going to help? Is it going to help be responsible for what happens after this pool is installed?
Well, Mrs. Moore, I do believe the mitigation plan that the engineering department proposed that Mr. Powell's willing to accommodate around this pool should remedy any of those situations. Those are the scenarios they run. Those are the reasons why they come up with these mitigation plans to keep from any adverse effects happening to your property. So,
But if it doesn't, as in the case with my front yard?
Well,
again,
I don't know that we can speak to hypothetical situations.
Right.
I just don't think we can address those. I mean, that's,
But I've been through this before, where something was approved and it affected my yard, and then my only recourse was to pay out of my pocket to get my front yard redone. So I guess maybe just being here and letting you know that I am very, very concerned about this construction and what it will do to my property. And I guess that's really it.
and just to reference, Mr. Moore, we do take into those accounts of neighbors and those types of things. That's the reason our engineers do go through the process of looking at these situations and coming up with a mitigation plan just in case, as far as runoff. That's something the city has done and will continue to do to keep those things from happening. But again, we can't speak to what might happen. We can only base it off of what information is provided versus the area and versus, rainfall events, this, that, and the other. So that's how the engineering department comes up with these mitigation plans, and Mr. Powell agreed with those stipulations to those mitigation plans.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Any other comment? We'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V25-038 to increase the maximum impervious surface area from 35% to 43.8%, located at 2611 Gilbert Street. Joe Powell is applicant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is variance request V25-039, increase the maximum impervious surface from 35% to 37.7% on land lot 561 at 2568 Highland Avenue. Kim Martin is the applicant. Mr. Staub, the background on this, please.
Yes, sir. This is variance request V25-039 for 2568 Highland Avenue. Applicant is Kim Martin. They are requesting a variance to increase the impervious surface area from 35% to 37.7% to expand a shed at the rear of the single-family home. The subject parcel is 0.22 acres, and there are 15 zoning districts. The home was expanded in 2003 and was granted variances for front setback reduction. However, at that time, it also increased the impervious surface area, and there was no note of that. So due to this being legally non-conforming, now that the applicant is looking to expand the shed, we are, with the expansion of the shed footprint, the property is no longer considered legal non-conforming. In order to accommodate the increase in impervious surface area, the applicant will remove 645 square feet of the driveway, and that will reduce the overall impervious surface area on the property to 37.7%. Since the increase in the impervious surface area occurred in 2003, and there is a net decrease of stormwater runoff, the engineering department is determining that no further remediation is required. Community Development recommends approval with one condition. Approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Staub? All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Martin? You would state your name for the record, please.
My name is Kimberly Anderson Martin.
You have heard the background that Mr. Staub has provided. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
I don't think so, unless
Okay.
you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Martin? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who would like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve V 25-039, a variance request to increase the maximum impervious surface area from 35% to 37.7% in land lot 561 at 2568 Highland Avenue. Kim Martin, the applicant.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 26, 2025 License and Variance Board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Please vote. That motion also passes. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time?
Sir.
Hearing none, we will adjourn. Thank you.